well, wouldn't it?
You can feed them to the bears. Try.
All right, then. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 14th, 2015 meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. Gage will not be here tonight, and he's excused. I have not heard from Christy at this point, so what we'll do is it is now 6:34 p.m. and we'll get started. Just for announcement's sake, we do have openings available on the Conservation Commission, so if anyone is watching this in replay or whatever, you have an interest, reach out, talk to me, talk to Becky in the town manager's office, ask questions, and we'd love to grow our ranks a little bit. So no experience required, just an interest in being part of the Conservation Commission. So, all right, so with that, I will move straight to public comment, and I don't believe we have members of the public that wish to speak yet at this point. So we'll move to appointments. Our first agenda item is an informational session. This is kind of like information session number 2. We did this last year, right about the same week in September, in order to talk about some invasive spraying that we want to do on Brookside Drive. With us is Mike Powers, our forester, and he's also licensed to apply herbicides. And he will be the applicator just as he was last year. And Mike, did you sign our little form for us?
Yes, yep,
Okay,
I'm all signed in, yep.
So basically, as a quick overview, we have some troubles with various invasive species at 10 Brookside Drive. Some of the invasives have worked their way into Babusick Brook, or along the sides of the brook, I should say. And our intent is to take care of those invasives that are on our parcel, all the way out, including the brook, with a permit that you picked up today.
Yes, yep.
So that we're legal to do it properly with DES. And we're also going to try and catch some of the invasives that are on our property, as well as on the border with 8 Brookside Drive. The folks who live there still have a problem, and we still need to deal with that like we started last year. So our intent is to hopefully do have more success this year.
Mm-hmm.
I have not heard from anyone from the public. No one's emailed me or called me. We did have quite a session last year. We had quite a turnout. I provided you guys all a link to the minutes. Actually, I sent you all the minutes so you could go through them. I don't believe anything's really changed since last year, right? Same material?
Yep, same material that's being applied, and it's just a follow-up application to what we did last year. We had a little bit of success taking out quite a bit of the Japanese, mainly Japanese knotweed, but there's some burning bush. And I think there's some multiflora rose in there as well. And then there was that little bit along the brook that we didn't hit last year, but we'll get that this year. We're, like Tim said, we're all squared away with our special permit from the New Hampshire Division of Pesticide Control, so we're good to go there. So we can spray right up to the edge of the brook there, and the herbicides that I'm using are registered for use in and around wetland areas. So there's no issue there. So we're all set to go. I'll hit it again, and I would think this time around, after hitting it 2 years in a row, I would think we will see some pretty good results. So I'll looking at going there on Wednesday. Is that we had talked about going on?
Yep.
Okay.
If you
Okay.
can do it this week, that'd be great. So.
Yep. I'll look at doing it on Wednesday, weather permitting, and it shouldn't take very long. I wouldn't think I would be there, much more than a couple hours, if that.
It's supposed to be nice.
Is it? Yeah. Good. Yeah. Won't take very long.
Is that Wednesday the 16th?
Yes, this coming Wednesday. Yep.
So how do we go about giving, so that's Wednesday the 16th, how do we go about giving, I noticed there was, from the minutes last year, there were a couple of people, the beekeeper and the woman with the health issues, that we needed to give them at least 24 hours notice. Are we able to do that again this year?
Yeah, we'll have to do that tomorrow morning.
Okay. Is that something that you would do, Tim, or? through the town offices, or how is that handled?
So last year, I believe I emailed Mrs. Streeter,
Okay,
and I believe Gage or someone else reached out to the beekeepers.
Kevin Fitzgerald.
Yeah. So that's a logistic we'll have to work out.
okay, all right, thank you.
And last year, I put up signs before you got started, and I
Mhm.
took them down later in the day.
Yeah.
Which,
Yep.
I have a schedule conflict on Wednesday and can't do that part. So, I don't know if you want to make up some signs. and
I
just
can.
post a couple and
Yep.
leave them up for the day. And
Sure.
Mike, could you go by late in the day and pull them down?
On Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, if you don't mind just putting
Yeah.
them up.
That's not a problem, yep.
So I do ask that you wait till 8:30.
Yep, sure.
That way we avoid any school-aged
Yep,
children,
yep.
you know?
What time do you expect to be done?
Well, if I get going somewhere between 8:30 and 9, I'll make it closer to 9. I should be out of there by 11 o'clock, I would think.
All right, I'll wait till like the afternoon.
Yeah, pull them down in the afternoon.
Yeah, give it a good part of the day, I would say, just to be on the safe side, if you can. I'd even maybe towards the end of the day, I'd leave them up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just to keep people out of there. The herbicides are very, very low in toxicity, and and when they dry on the plant, you're pretty well good to go. You can walk through the area, but probably just to be on the safe side, it might be a good idea just to keep the signs up all day and just to keep people out of there. Yeah.
You okay with that?
Yep.
I only ask you because you live closest to there.
No problem.
Except for Gage and his Okay. All right, so then we do have to get a hold of the two folks. I don't have Kevin's email address.
I think last year gave a card. I'm looking at the minutes and I don't see a contact number or anything.
Either, so, well, I'll work with Amy in the morning and we'll figure it out. Now, my letter did state that we would be spraying anytime after today.
Okay.
Okay? So it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. So,
Any plans on changing your approach for better success, or is it just the fact that it was too late last year?
No, I think, well, knotweed in general, it's pretty difficult to kill. If you look at some of the areas the state of New Hampshire's been spraying along the highways, they've had some success, but you see some patches still kind of growing underneath where they've sprayed and killed and stuff. So that's kind of because it just grows in clumps and it grows so dense. So there's a lot of different. Sometimes you'll get some smaller plants and stuff hiding under some of the bigger plants. So that's kind of part of it. And last year when we sprayed as well, it was a little bit on the damp side too. We had a little bit of moisture, and that may have been a little bit of an issue there too. But this year, if we have a nice, good, dry day on Wednesday, and a lot of the vegetation's already been killed, I think we'll have pretty good success this time around. Yeah. If you hit it two years in a row, you knock it back pretty good there. So.
now, have you had any contact with Christina, I believe her name is?
Mike and I stopped by to see her that one day. It was quite a few weeks back now. But other than that, I haven't had any other contact with her. I think we told her we'd be in conjunction with doing the work for the town. We would go around the backside of her house as well and do that work as well. So.
As you may have noticed, she's done quite a good job of removing a bunch of issues
Yeah.
she had along on her side property.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just mostly the Japanese knotweed in the back that she just hasn't been able to knock
Yeah,
down.
she's done a lot of work actually, and she's still having some problems with bittersweet. She's got some vines that she's still kind of struggling with, but I'll plan on doing some work. I guess I think I still have an email address for her, so I could shoot her an email, or you folks want to shoot her an email.
I certainly will.
Okay,
do
oh,
that
good,
tonight.
good, okay, okay. Yep, that sounds good.
Well, that's since we don't have members of the public, I wasn't going to delve any deeper than what we've done tonight, because I think most of us are aware. You had a chance to read the minutes, so you're aware.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Good. So I guess that covers that, so.
Okay,
But while we have you,
yep, okay.
you and I had talked about forestry plans and
Yes.
stuff like that for
Yep.
Wasserman. That's something that you're still putting together?
Yeah, yes, I am. I've been on both properties, well, the Wasserman property and the, what is it, Riverside?
Riverside. right.
Riverside, yeah, I've been on both properties. The boundary lines on both properties are great. No issues there, so they're pretty easy to find. So, yeah, I will get you a proposal on writing plans for both of those properties.
Yeah, separate them out.
Okay,
'Cause I'm not,
Yep.
Yeah, because odds are we won't do both of them together.
yeah, okay, okay. And, yeah, I mean, they'll be, both properties, after looking at them, should be relatively easy. They're easy to access, they're easy to get around, so I don't anticipate any big issues with doing the plans there. They're pretty easy properties to access, so.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Great. Anyone have any questions for Mike? I just
Okay.
wanted to make sure you were here in case the public came and had
Yeah,
questions.
oh, definitely, not a problem. Yeah, it's good to see you all again, and I'll be out there on
Okay.
Wednesday, and I'll let you know how I make out, and, yeah.
Certainly billable time, so.
okay, yep, sure, appreciate that. Okay, good, thanks a
great.
lot, good to see you.
Thanks,
Yeah. Short and sweet.
Maybe get home before dark.
Right, yeah, exactly.
All right, so that takes us next on our agenda to statutory advisory business with Pennachuck Waterworks and Southwood Corp. So Pennachuck was on our agenda last week, so did everyone still have their packages? The last time, I should say. Do you have a big version of the stats yet?
Hey! Oh, I think yours is better than mine.
You get the left or the right?
Left.
Oh, you're both left.
Goes with any and every outfit.
video?
I imagine.
Good evening. My name is Tom Zajac. I'm a civil engineer with Hayner Swanson in Nashua. I'm here tonight representing Pennachuck Waterworks. And tonight we're seeking your recommendations for site plan approval for an October 20th planning board meeting. Yes.
Bright
Mhm.
green,
Yes.
yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We'll just give a brief presentation, describe the project, and then be happy to answer any questions you may have. The subject site is located within what's called Map 1, Lot 1. It's an existing Pennachuck lot. It's mostly wooded, 85 acres with frontage on both Daniel Webster Highway and Manchester Street, and it's located within the I-1 industrial zone. It's abutted to the north by the Harris Pond development, Daniel Webster Highway to the east, Manchester Street to the west, and watershed land and the Pennachuck Waterworks treatment facility to the south. I'm here tonight to talk about the site plan, but just wanted to make you aware that there's also a concurrent subdivision application which will create the lot to be developed. It will subdivide the existing Lot 1 into 2 lots. The new Lot 1-5 will be 7.2 acres and will be developed to construct a new Pennachuck Waterworks distribution facility. Lot 1-5 is shown here on the plan highlighted. As I said, it is being proposed to construct a new distribution facility for Pennachuck Waterworks. Just to give you some history, the current distribution facility is located on Will Street in Nashua and was built in the 1960s. At that time, they serviced about 11,000 customers. Today, they service over 50,000, so they're in need for a bigger space. The new facility will provide them more opportunity to operate this part of their business in close proximity to the neighboring treatment plant. Access to the site, as you can see, is provided on a new site driveway on Daniel Webster Highway. The current facility is one story, 32,300 square feet. There's parking along the south side of the building and vehicle storage area along the north. There's a drive-through doors on both ends of the building on the westerly side that will allow service vehicles to load and to park within the building. Other site improvements include outdoor storage areas, which are to the northwest part of the site. These will be used to store earth materials, pipe, and other resources Pennachuck may need in case there's a break in the middle of the night. They need to have these items available on site. A gated driveway will be provided for security and new site lighting, along with underground telephone, gas, electric, and water utilities. There will be a subsurface septic system that will service this facility. And we also have various stormwater management techniques which will accommodate new stormwater runoff from both the parking and rooftop areas. Pennachuck Waterworks intends on opening this facility with just over 40 employees. As I said, normal business hours are Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., but during a water main crisis or a break, they will be operating at this facility. We think given the number of employees and the light truck traffic that's associated with this use, there will be no significant impact to local traffic. A couple key issues I just wanted to talk about. Salt and fertilizer use always comes up. This site is downstream from the water supply and supply pond. So any migration of those materials, as I said, will be downstream of the water supply. And Pennachuck Waterworks is okay with the requirement, if you so choose, to require Green Snow Pro certification for plowing and winter maintenance on site. Just wanted to point out that there's no hazardous materials to be stored on this site. And lastly, just wanted to talk about stormwater. The site is located downstream of Supply Pond and the treatment plant. The site drains to the south towards Pennachuck Brook, where it goes under Daniel Webster Highway and into the Merrimack River. Our design intent is to implement stormwater treatment practices throughout the site that take advantage of sandy soils. Runoff from new pavement and building rooftop areas will be captured using curbing and catch basins and treated in one of 3 infiltration basins located on site. The project will meet the town of Merrimack and alteration of terrain, stormwater regulations related to qualitative treatment and qualitative attenuation. That's all I had, so I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Sure, why don't, I know that it's a little hard for you to get around, but can you point out the
Quicker than you
detention
think.
ponds? Yeah, okay.
He's still young.
Here's just the blown up site plan
Yep.
that you're looking at.
Right, that's page.
This is sheet 5.
Got it?
So as we enter the site, there's a small stormwater area here that will capture part of the site driveway. There's another cell here that will capture the central portion of the site. And then the rooftop and the majority of the parking area will all be captured here in this infiltration basin.
Now, there's quite an elevation change coming off of Daniel Webster Highway.
There is.
So you'll be able to capture most of that, or is that going to run down into Daniel Webster?
There's a portion up to the property line we're capturing. So there will be a small portion that runs out.
Along the right-of-way, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Our last 2 catch basins are located right at the property line. So runoff from here will filter down as an existing catch basin. Daniel Webster Highway is not curbed, so
Right,
It
yeah.
will be
so-
captured and,
So it'll fall into the existing,
correct,
right.
correct.
Are you all familiar with where the site is? Just crossing the border into Merrimack, heading north from Nashua? So, okay. Right. Just past
Is
the
it
big one?
just south of,
Yeah.
just south of Harris Pond?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Septic system is designed for the 40 employees,
Yes.
and that's leach field and all that is in that front area, I'm assuming?
Correct.
Okay.
I also wanted just to point out, I forgot to mention that, I mentioned that there's going to be a drive-through facility for them to wash and clean their vehicles. No vehicle maintenance will go on inside the building. But there is, just to the west of the building, near where the notch is, there's a holding tank that will take the floor drain water, and where it will, about once a month, they'll come and they'll pump that out. That flow will not go into the septic system.
That's good to know. Okay. Good.
Questions, what's the holding tank for? So the outdoor vehicle storage area, does that have a roof?
I don't believe so, no.
So what is canopy?
The outdoor storage materials are here,
Okay,
and those are just kind of block retaining walls to kind of divide up the
okay.
different materials and pipe. And then there's an outdoor storage area, vehicle storage area here.
Okay.
So the cars will be able to come under this canopy section
Okay,
here.
so
It's
there
a
is a
concrete.
roof over
There is a canopy over the vehicle storage area.
Understood. And now will that be a rain gutter? Will it be a gutter system over there?
Yes, we're capturing that and piping it into our stormwater system. Obviously, during the winter months, the faster the crews can respond, the better, so they don't have to spend time cleaning off their vehicles.
Right, so you say there'll be no maintenance inside, so there'll be no oil, no
Correct.
vehicle oil and all that stuff.
Correct.
in there. Now, did I read properly that the amount of water reaching Pennachuck Brook is actually going to increase?
Yes. We submitted a preliminary stormwater study. We received comments back from both the town staff and the peer review consultant, and we've since reworked the site a little bit to provide more storage. And so when we resubmit to the town, all flows will be less up to the 100-year storm. We'll also be submitting, when we resubmit to the town for our subdivision and site plan approval, we'll be submitting our AOT application as well.
That's alteration of terrain that goes to DES in case.
It's the stormwater erosion control permit from the state for projects that are disturbing more than 100,000 square feet.
I can't remember where, on what sheet, but there was a snow storage area proposed.
I believe that's on the layout, site layout sheet, which should be 6.
So
That's south.
elevation-wise, that's gonna flow down to the catch basin at the top.
That storage area looks like it flows south.
Yes, it does.
Back over the parking lot.
No. On the page,
It looks straight south.
Oh, okay, there's multiple.
I think there's a couple different
right,
snow storage areas.
you're right, yeah, so there's some above as well. Okay.
I think we're labeling 4 on the plan.
believe I saw the language for Green Snow Pro in the plan set. Is that true? Or was that in the description, the narrative?
I could not tell you offhand.
Yeah, it is. It's on page 1, sheet 1.
Okay.
Note 10.
Yep.
So, I believe I saw language that talked about the judicious use of pesticides and herbicides.
Yeah, it's in there.
That's nice language. We prefer a slightly different language. So when it comes to fertilizer, we recommend that before you use any fertilizer, that the contractor test the soil to see if fertilizer is required. And if it is required, in this situation, since you're so close to feeding a river and stream bed, I think we would prefer that you used slow-release nitrogen, no phosphate fertilizer.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Yeah, I can put that all in our comments to the planning board, so, yeah. Everyone agree?
Yes.
So the earthen material, do we run any risk of that material washing down the parking lot and ending up clogging or interfering with your stormwater management system?
I don't think so. It's got a decent way to travel before it gets anywhere. We have catch basins with deep sumps. We have sediment forebays. So if something, sand or gravel, did get into the system, it would be easy to maintain. It wouldn't affect the, I guess, rechargeability of the system.
Besides that, everything was fine. I was concerned about the stormwater, but now that you've adjusted the plan, that sounds good to me. So, anyone else have any other comments or thoughts? Anything else you want to pass along? So I will speak to our preference of the Green Snow Pro, which you've done,
Yep.
and to the fertilizer usage, and I'll put that in the comments to the
Okay.
planning board. So,
Thank you very much.
great,
And-
thank you.
We appreciate you using the straw. I saw the notice that you said straw in here, so we appreciate that. Thanks.
All right, so that takes us to the John J. Flatley proposal. This item was requested by Alistair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Commission, may I just explain why I'm here?
Sure.
I'm not working for Flatley, obviously. When they came,
Sign in form.
yes, I will do that. When they came before the planning board 2 weeks ago with the sort of plan, the final plan, we were dismayed, I think is perhaps the word, to notice that the trail, which has always been part of the things that we've been promised, seems to have now sort of had to be cut back at your request. Instead of going across the wetlands, which was a little bridge, which we thought was a rather nice idea, it's now sort of really trailing round the buildings. And in our opinion, it became less of a trail and more just a path between the buildings. Now, Mr. Walker and Mr. Brannan from his agents explained to us that you yourselves had concerns that by putting a bridge over the wetlands, even though most of the year it's not wet, would have considerable risk, in your opinion, in terms of damage to the designated wetlands. We understand that, and we're not trying to sort of tell you you're wrong. You're much more the experts than we are. But we wondered if there was any way that you would agree to some concessions and so that the bridge could go back. One of our members, who's Michael Redding, who seems to know quite a lot more about wetlands than I do, made it very clear that he'd learnt a lot as a kid walking through that sort of environment, and wondered if you would give us some guidelines that you would accept to allow that bridge to go back. If the answer is no, we will obviously respect you as the specialists in this area and not push the matter. But we just felt it would be better if that trail could get away a little bit from the buildings and could enable them to go walk over the wetlands, giving the youngsters particularly the opportunities to see what wetlands really looks like, and to see if there could be incorporate some features that you think would make it, in your opinion, safe and would meet your requirements. If the answer is no, we will respectfully withdraw and leave you in peace. But we felt it was worth asking if what you could suggest, would like to Flatleys, and obviously they're the ones that are going to do it. But I'm sort of here as the envoy of the planning board saying, is there any way you'd let us go back to that bridge? Because we rather liked it. I really think I shouldn't say any more and leave it with Kevin.
Thank you. Kevin Walker with John Flatley Company. If you're not sure where it is on the plan, there's a wetland that kind of sticks out right here, and there's a timber bridge actually that's there now. And if I could either pass this around, but I actually took 4 or 5 pictures this afternoon. Do you want to pass it around or walk around, or?
If you'd like, yeah.
That's looking into the woods. That's looking out into the field. About 2 feet height. The ends where.
So this is the existing bridge now.
This is
Will
existing.
be improved, or would be improved?
It will be improved. The more I looked at it, these 2 end caps, I guess, have been notched out to support the logs going across. Those would have to be the logs going across would have to be taken out just for safety's sake. But it might be nice to leave those timber ends in. Maybe shim them down a little bit to provide an adequate platform to go across. You can see it's about a 2-foot height difference. And that's looking from the woods out into the field, and vice versa, and there's paths all through here. And that's looking from the field into the woods. That's woods into the field.
Yeah.
It's a side view. It's about 2 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
These ends supports are 18 to 24 inch logs. They've been notched out, and these logs have also been notched out and set up top.
Do you know if there's ATV use in that area now?
Sorry, apologize.
ATV use in that area?
It is used. Certainly there are ATVs running around the area. When we've done site walks, they're all over the place. One of the concerns we have had is that some of the ATVs come out of Allen Road, I think it's called, into the area. I mean, certainly when we were walking around, we were sort of buzzed by ATVs coming from goodness knows where on that area, because there's a lot of open pathways used, presumably by the River Authority, other people. There's certainly a lot of trails there, and obviously, as part of the whole project, we're going to have to try and tidy that sort of the free access that seems to be going on there, make it into more managed. But the area we're talking about is basically a trail that runs, if you like, from the river, but it's going to run past the buildings and then run up past the clubhouse up to the pool area. So there is a logic to it, but we would still felt that as it was going past the play area, it would be an opportunity for the youngsters to at least see what wetlands is. Mike Redding spoke very eloquently about how he learned about what he does. He does drainage and all these things was because as a young kid he looked at wetlands. So I'm only really acting as the envoy of my colleagues who asked if I would be willing to come before you and not beg, but ask you to consider it. If you wanted some sort of improvements to the area, I mean, and Tim very kindly indicated to me the sort of concerns you'd had, whether you would consider it if certain things were put right, whether you would be prepared to leave the bridge as it is and the trail, make the trail more interesting for particularly youngsters.
So we got updated plan sets, but what I don't have is the original plan set, which showed the location of the bridge. Do we have?
I can.
You've got it.
Yeah, it's tough to see on
I
this.
think that'd be helpful.
That bridge is only about 8 feet long, and it's located right here, and it's narrowest part of the crossing. This dash line is the existing pathway that kind of comes across and cuts through the woods through here.
Here somewhere, I think.
So that shows the existing wetland space, right?
Right, so this
And
is
then,
the wetland.
and then the buffer, wetland buffer is that line there. So where were you gonna include in the buffer? Yeah, that's what I thought with the parking.
You have any suggestions for them?
There's a revised walkway actually.
As you know, it's very close to home
here.
for me.
Yeah.
We'll be walking along the pavement.
Yeah.
Right.
This would provide, obviously a throughway to continue the walkway. And where it is actually currently pretty clear on this side, there's all sorts of things that can be done. Put signage up about wetland species, about, wildlife habitat in the area, that type of thing.
Do you all want to see this?
I think I got a gist of where it is.
Yeah, it's only about 8 feet long. And it's just the narrowest neck of that wetland that comes across.
Here.
Comments, thoughts? By the way, the planning board can do what they choose. We only provide a recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I'm aware of that fact, but that isn't the way we wanted to deal with this matter. We wanted to have you with us and not against us.
Good.
We felt that was the best approach if we could all agree, and if you would indicate the sort of things that would make you a little happier, we would thought that was a much better bet. The objective is to make this site something that we're all proud of. I mean, I'm not blowing their trumpet. I think if you go down to exit 1 on the turnpike, you can see the village that the Flatleys have created, and we're trying to create the same sort of thing, make it a part of Merrimack that really we're all proud of. And that's what we want to do. But we want it to be nice for the people who live there, but on the other hand, we don't want to damage the environment in any way, even though, as you rightly say, we can do what we like.
I think one of the pieces that we were slightly concerned with on this plan and the previous plan is it says 6 foot wide stone dust path.
That is the path that's the trail path, yes.
So if you take stone dust and put it up to a old bridge
Yes.
that's made of wood and is decaying and is very low, the stone dust is then going to be washed into the water.
Yeah,
Okay.
it may want, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think if this walking trail was modified a bit, obviously, with a bridge staying, and maybe leave that, maybe even within the buffer zone on both sides, make it just a natural footpath type deal. It's pretty cleared there anyway, so just getting it down to a good flat area. I mean, really, on the other side of that bridge, you actually would have to mark out where the trail is. That's how clear it is right now. So I think, especially in the buffer zone, it can be modified in a way that I think the commission would be pleased with. Something that's not loose, something that. Again, I'm thinking just leaving a natural path, clear it down, tamp it down, like it's been walked on for 50 years.
Or some sort of like post and rail fence
That's fine.
on either side, so that it marks the
Yeah.
instead of doing the stone dust. Because I understand. You've got people from the city moving to a place where a hiking trail is foreign to them. They need to see something that
Yeah.
looks like a sidewalk.
Okay.
So I think stone dust is going to do that, but when you get really close to a wetland, that stone dust is just going to end up in the water.
Yeah, so maybe we clear it down, like we said, tamp it down, leave it as natural ground cover, and within the buffer zone, post and rail up to the bridge, on the other side of the bridge, and demarcate it that way.
Really, on the other side of that bridge, if they follow some of the existing pathways that are there, they're going to end up in people's backyards.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, even outside the buffer zone, where it's wide open, at that point when we're outside the buffer zone, we'll get back to something that's either stone dust or lined, or one way or the other, to make it clear. When we're up near the trees, it should just be a path through the trees. It should be pretty simple. But, it will be marked out so people aren't, like you said, walking into people's cookouts and uninvited.
So my objection with the bridge and getting people into the buffer is that wetlands do swell, they change.
Yes.
And if people are walking their dogs, which is going to be a regular occurrence on that trail,
Yes.
and the dogs need to relieve themselves, they could be relieving themselves within the wetland or within the buffer of the wetland, causing wash into the wetland and all of that. So yes, it's great to be able to look down and see the frogs and the tadpoles and things that will come with a wetland of that type. But being able to visually see them is great, but having some sort of a boundary that discourages them from actually getting right into the wetland, I think, is more appropriate. Because some animals will just think that's the greatest thing, get right in there.
I can tell you, and I'm not going to say I'm 100% sure, but I'm going to say I'm as close to 100% as I can be, that these will be run the same as the ones that we have in Nashua. The ones in Nashua, there are no pets. So in that regard,
Do the ones in Nashua, do they have stone dust for walking paths?
we had stone dust, and then we actually ended up doing, it was about just under 2 miles. We made it into a 10-foot wide paved bikeway, because it's 2 miles long. It was a good walking, running area. The difference also between Nashua and here is Nashua is all bedrock, doing stone dust on top of bedrock. And there was enough blasting out there to create another planet almost. So it made it tough to do anything except something paved. Here, the material's beautiful. It's easily compacted. It's sand. It's really custom made or I don't say custom made, but it's one of the ultimate situations for doing something along the lines of a stone dust type trail. Because one, we're not paving it, which it's nice having a bike trail or whatever, but an area like this where you've got Dumpling Brook, you've got the railroad, you've got the Merrimack, even these isolated areas up front of wetland, it's nice to try to keep something as close to natural as you can get instead of going in and blowing pavement on it. Now, if it's decided to be paved at some point in the future, I suppose, we'd come back and discuss with you. But at this point in time, that's not the plan.
What's the total trail length?
The whole shooting match is, I'm just going to ballpark it rough for you. It's 2,400 feet, thereabouts, if you were to walk all the way around like this. And hopefully, as things continue out here, whether it's continued on through paved walkways or not paved walkways or something along those lines, maybe a combination of both. The intent, when all is said and done, is to have a walking trail, whether it's through sidewalks or the walking trail itself, around the whole site. Even this site has paved walkways. We've got the paved walkways that run around the fronts of the buildings, parking lot. So this is really more of a recreational type amenity for the site. Like the tennis courts, like the playground. It's just something that people can passively walk on and, just really walk through the woods. You get the big open area back here. You've got really, as close as these houses are, it's actually a very quiet area even along those areas. So we think it's a good amenity not only for the site, but in the spirit of the permit for the mixed use.
So then go ahead, Jim.
I understand what you're saying, and I think it would be a nice environment for people to live. I just encouraging traffic to go through a wetland just goes against everything that all the conservation work that I've watched and participated. You don't encourage people to go through a wetland. It's just, it rubs me the wrong way. If you're going to do that, and as Alistair stated, you want kids to be able to see wetlands, to experience nature, and if that's really what it is, that's genuinely what you're looking to do with this, then you don't put down stone dust. There's a trail through the woods that you walk through the woods. If you wanted to create a bike path or something like that, that's, to me, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, that's just a whole nother ball of wax. If you really wanted people to be able to go out into the woods and experience nature, and we have hundreds and hundreds of acres of Merrimack too where that can be done as well, then you wouldn't put down stone dust. And as Matt stated too, it's putting that right down next to a wetland isn't a great idea. So if that's what you're looking for, then I would just ask you to seriously consider leaving it, you talked about
basically stump
natural.
it.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's not a bad idea either.
Yep.
I'll definitely run that by. But again, within the buffer zones, I agree 100% to keep them on the path, not in the resource area, is to line both sides of that with a fence, and with some sort of signage. I mean, we'd have to talk to our wetland scientists about. Identify some plans, identify what's out here, and, just put some informational, signs on a post, maybe a picture of whatever happens to be out there. I'm not a wetland expert, but wetland species that may be out there, the plants themselves in this general area. Near the crossing, there's not a whole lot in the way of wetland plants. It's pretty much just soil at this point, but just off of that, you can see that there's wetland plants and get some idea, maybe something about hydric soils, something about wetland plants, what it needs to survive, that type of thing.
My only other comment, if you're going to move forward with this, is to try and make the bridge as wide as possible. Try to keep it away from the wetlands as much as possible. Even if you have to bring it out to 12 feet or 16 feet, I think that's a much better solution.
So remove the two ends and just widen it? Okay, yeah, I mean, if that's what you'd like, then that's something we would do.
That would, I mean, that serves a lot of purpose, gets you up and out of it, so as much as
Mhm.
possible. So I just don't know where it becomes. I mean, that's a financial decision you'll have to make as well, and weigh the amenity with the
No,
expense. So-
if he wants to get his approval, he's going to have to meet certain things. This will be a very minor financial embarrassment to him.
Just the thought of it just barely crossing the wetland is.
Yeah.
I take that.
Yeah, the person that built that bridge too has moved, so there will be no more maintenance from the builder.
No. I suspect that's true.
Who knows what
Well, I
kind
mean,
of
that's a real, Matt's speaking to that because he lives it. I mean, you put something in and 10 years goes by really quickly, and then if nobody's taking care of these things, then you've got a mess. You've also got a hazard, a liability. So, but it's like 10 years will go by just like that, and if nobody's maintaining these things, it's amazing how they will decompose so quickly.
Agreed. And these, these same or similar amenities that we have in Nashua are really, except for maybe 4 hours a day, there's somebody at the site, and there's maintenance going on 24 hours, are available anyway, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. That's from plowing and maintaining the 10,000 feet of the bike trail to the plantings. The flowers, the bushes, everything is maintained to a real top-notch level, one that I hadn't seen in 20 years of engineering until I started working for Mr. Flatley. A lot of developers are, let's get in. What can we do? How cheap can we do this for and get out? And Mr. Flatley's he has the resources, and more than the resources, he's got the desire to make things a top-notch type development. I mean, some of the things we've done in Nashua, Nashua's the only example I have, which is why I keep mentioning it, is really incredible. Just building-wise, screening the rooftop utilities. So I would have never thought of that in a million years. The landscaping's beautiful. It's really something. And the funny thing with Nashua is we had a good number of abutters during the construction process, because there was a lot of blasting, with a lot of complaints about, geez, I can't believe this is going on. And I just got an email Saturday from one of the abutters, basically thanking Mr. Flatley for the work that he did, and it's a beautiful site and a great amenity, a great addition to the city of Nashua, and so on and so forth, which is really nice to see, but this will be a heavily maintained property.
In fact, I could sort of add to put on further weight on that, is that in fact the MVD are actually requiring Flatleys to maintain all the sewer systems on the site. It's not going to be maintained by the town. It's going to be maintained by Flatleys, so they can hardly walk away from the site. They're responsible for the drainage and everything on the site indefinitely. There will be an agreement between Merrimack and the Flatley Oak Corporation to ensure that the maintenance on this site goes on as long as people want to live there.
So you did mention winter use of the bike path in Nashua. Are you planning on winter use of this wilderness trail?
Nothing specifically has been discussed, but we would hope that maybe people use it for cross-country skiing. That would be the desire off the top of our heads.
Okay, but no snow clearing, snow removal.
No, this isn't. It's not really the purpose of what we're trying to do in this situation.
Okay.
We're talking about maybe a 5 or 6 foot wide path as opposed to a 10-foot wide. Even the bike path wasn't cleared. The one in Nashua, was with that much snow, the liability alone is kind of tough to deal with.
Great.
create icy spots.
Yeah, you know, it'll melt just enough for somebody to go take a header, you know.
Get a little bit of.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Oh, yeah,
There
there's
it goes.
plenty of slope out there, that's for sure.
Especially a nice long slope, because get your sled on there and let her rip.
One of the streets that were done out there is just at or just over 10%. And you look at it on paper, it's like, oh, that's not bad. It's just a few hundred feet long. Well, then I'm on top of this hill in my car, and it's winter time, and it's snow, and I'm like, maybe a guardrail down there should have been tossed in there. But no, there've been no issues. There's been no issues as far as that goes. But that's what our hope is for here, is to have something that people can use in the spring and summer and walk, and in the wintertime use snowshoeing, cross-country skiing.
So, what do you all think? Do you think the fencing in the buffer and the non-use of the...
I think with keeping the path natural as possible, maybe increasing the span of the bridge, like you had mentioned, guiding the path, and maybe some way to discourage ATVs from entering that area, I would be willing to recommend it. I mean, with those
I think when this
recommendations.
I think when this is developed, that the incidences, at least in this section of the site, of snowmobiles and ATVs are going to
Be too close to the buildings. And
we had again. There were similar issues in Nashua. We had hunters sitting out in the woods. There was a guy from our office walking down a path, and these three guys sitting in a tree. It's like, wear orange next time, But that's all gone. We've had no incidences in any of the developed areas, so we anticipate the same. There's always going to be somebody on site, so.
Jody?
I mean, the current use is snowmobiles, ATVs, dirt bikes across that bridge and in that area. A walking path over that bridge, as long as the bridge is maintained and there's a clear, distinct path of this is your path through the wetlands.
Right, definitely.
Wording, maybe.
Oh, yes.
Identifying this is a wetland.
Yep.
Please state on the trail. It's going to improve the condition from what it is today. Because I don't think with a facility there and somebody on staff, you're going to have the dirt bikes that are out there today ripping down
It's not
a
gonna
trail and across that bridge. So, I mean, there's an improvement there over existing. So, do we want people going through a wetland? No. Is this a really, sending people on a walking path that goes over an existing bridge?
So I think the sentiment is if we didn't have it, that would be great. If you're going to do it, then these are the things that they would like you to do.
I think I would take from here that you have some very justifiable concerns, and it's up to the planning board to ensure that your concerns are addressed to a large extent, and I will see that that's done. And I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to come back to you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And we're glad that you felt that you could come and ask and do that, because we should be able to work cooperatively.
Well, we certainly wouldn't have done it any other way.
Right.
And just so you understand, the reason I'm here and rather than Bob Best is because Bob Best's the legal firm for which he works does work for Flatley, so this particular project has dropped on my shoulders rather than on his. Otherwise, he'd have come. Anyway, thank you all very much
Thank you very
indeed.
much.
I do
Appreciate
appreciate your time this evening.
So do you need something in writing from me, or do you think that you being here is good enough to bring the message across?
It's up to you. I will be reporting this, and it will be documented in our minutes. I think that's good enough, as long as you're happy with that. We'll certainly furnish you a copy of the minutes of what I actually say is in reference to this piece.
Yeah, we all get a copy of the minutes. They get sent out to
Oh,
everyone.
you'll get them. Well, in that case, you'll hear what we said. But I promise you it'll be done what I think I took away. And I do appreciate it again.
All right, great.
Good night. God bless. Thank you.
All right, so the pipeline. I know you sent some stuff out earlier today. I did not get a chance to look.
No, that's okay, and I, some of it I was just going through my notes and trying to remember everything that it was that I was supposed to be. I just wanted to disseminate everything to you. Some of it, there's no timeliness to it, so whenever you get to it. But I've got several documents. Do you want me to do an update from the town council special meeting from last week for people? Would you like me to start there? And then I have 2 maps. This one is a 1 mile radius map for where the metering station is proposed to be located. So if you're interested in looking at that, I can pass it around. I do want these back, but if you really, really want a copy, And this is a large version of Amherst, what we're calling it, the Amherst Alternative Option 1. I don't know if any of you need a chance to look at that. So there's an agenda item that was on our agenda for our September 10th meeting that's been postponed to our next meeting, which is September 24th, and I'm talking about the town council. Deborah Huffman is actually working with Eileen Cabanel and Tom Mahon and our town attorney, Joanna, to come up with some kind of language to submit to FERC in comments regarding the metering station. So what they had crafted wasn't ready for prime time on the 10th, but we plan to address it at our meeting on the 24th. So that's the metering station.
There's the river right here. That's the river.
Yeah. So we had a special meeting, the town council. You may or may not be aware of this last week. We held a special meeting in order to get FERC comments in regarding the Amherst proposed alternate route option 1, and I emailed all of you a link to I got so many papers here. I emailed you all a link to the letter, the formal letter that the town council signed off on and we submitted. There was a timeliness, and I don't know that I can reiterate this again, Tim, in a way that makes sense. But basically our attorney stated that we had until last Friday, September 4th, to get these particular comments in as best as she could tell, because again, we're working with kind of wavy deadlines, nothing identified black and white in writing anywhere. But what she could surmise was we had until Friday, September 4th to get these comments in to ensure that Kinder Morgan would be forced, as much as you can force Kinder Morgan to address concerns, in their next resource report that they would put out. So there was a timeliness to that. That letter had comments. We asked Chairman Tenhave to weigh in on that. We had the MVD weigh in on that letter, and there's actually a little addendum from the Merrimack Village District, their engineer that they're working with regarding this proposed project, sat in with us and provided the letter. So I think the comments from the Village District were really, really pertinent. And basically, in his words, he said the original proposed route, as far as the water district goes, went from bad to this Amherst alternate route was worst. So that is the special meeting that we had. We also discussed the survey, the permission to survey, and the town council took a formal vote. Basically, Kinder Morgan is playing games with us. We've gone back and forth, and there's actually a timeline attached. I sent you guys a link to this too that's on the town website. There's a timeline attached to the back of our letter to FERC, which basically goes through all the communication that the town manager, the town attorney has had with a Kinder Morgan representative regarding the survey agreement. And it goes back starting in January, March, and it goes to show you. And basically what's happening now is they're giving it back to us, and they're changing things that they agreed to months ago. So it's just, it's a game they're playing. And one of the biggest sticking points is they are not in agreement to having a town representative accompany them while they're out surveying town-owned property. So the town council took a formal vote to say this is the last draft, this is it, take it or leave it, here you go. And then we addressed the entire process and what we consider bad faith negotiating on Kinder Morgan's part to FERC. So those two items were addressed at the special meeting on September 4th.
There's been no response.
No, and I'm not holding my breath either.
There is.
If there is, I will. I'm trying to make sure that this group gets all the information that I have that's public information, because I consider this commission to be one of the greatest resources against this pipeline that the town of Merrimack has. So, last week, Thursday, September 10th, we had some discussions regarding the pipeline, and one of the items that Town Councilor Dan Dwyer brought up was he likes to have a discussion every now and then to talk about how much money we're spending on legal counsel. So I have this memo, I can pass this around too, and this is at the end of July, and we're keeping track of what the Conservation Commission is spending too, because I just think everybody should be aware. There was no formal vote taken. It's about, at the end of July, it was just shy of $43,000 for the town and $32,000 for the commission. And I've reminded them that even though we've had the environmental impact studies done, it has been for all of our land, not just that's impacted, but I still see the pipeline as the catalyst for the Conservation Commission spending the money. There was no formal vote taken. There was conversation about, are we ready to draw a line in the sand? Do we have things that we don't want our town attorney to address or deal with in an effort to save money? One of the things was possibly she couldn't, not review the FERC filings every day. But we had a conversation about if we did draw a line in the sand now, we might be tying our hands for a need that we have that we just couldn't anticipate, and possible deadlines could come and go and we wouldn't know anything about it, because even though we are all monitoring the FERC comments, we're lay people and she's an attorney. So there seemed to be a consensus on the board about that. Then also at our meeting, we were requested by the New Hampshire Municipal Pipeline Coalition to sign on to a letter that was addressed to the U.S. Department of Energy, dated September 14th. And we took a formal vote, and the town council voted to, and I also sent you a link. This letter is on the town website. It basically talks about oversight of FERC, which we're finding out there really isn't any oversight. But Eileen's done some digging, and she came up with some information regarding, and I don't know if I have a copy of that or not. That might be a potential oversight committee in the government for FERC. We're all kind of flying blind here, but she was going to do a little bit more research, and we were going to request, the town of Merrimack Town Council was going to request the Pipeline Coalition communities to possibly agree to sending an addendum with a cover letter, because we were questioning the authority of this Gregory Friedman, the Inspector General. We don't think he has oversight over FERC, so we might just be wasting postage on this. So that's that letter. Then Nancy spoke about she met with Governor Hassan with the Pipeline Coalition Thursday morning. And she was speaking about a letter, and no one had a copy because she literally just pulled the paper copy off the table. And took it with her on her way out of the meeting. I mean, it's a public document, but no one had an electronic copy. So no one on the town council had access to it. I thought it was a letter, I misunderstood her, that the governor wrote, and it's not. It's a letter from the Office of Energy and Planning to FERC, and it's written by Tracy Boisvert.
I saw that.
I can say your name right, too, Mike. Program Director for the Conservation Land Stewardship Program. This I'm going to need back. This is the only copy I have of this right now, but I did email you a scanned electronic copy, and I noted the underlines were just put there by Nancy. But this speaks to land trust and some other information that I thought was, Nancy and I both thought was pertinent to this commission. So that's that. See if there's anything else. You're all aware of the final scoping meeting, September 29th, 2015, 6 p.m., Franklin Pierce University Fieldhouse in Ringe. Wanted to make sure you all had that. And then I got my hands on today, going around in Pipeline Facebook land, was a letter from our state delegation, Jean Shaheen, Ann Custer, Kelly Ayotte, and Frank Ginta, to FERC, dated September 10th. I sent an electronic copy of that to all of you, and I sent it to the town council today as well. I don't know if Eileen's had a chance to see this or not, but basically demanding answers to a lot of our questions, especially those surrounding the need, and demanding a response to our questions by September 18th from FERC. So there's that. And then I think that's the same letter. And then these are the letters from the town council. Do you guys want me to pass these around too so you can look at them? There's those. And I think that's all that I have from the town council. I'm trying to remember if there was anything else we discussed. Regarding our letter for the Amherst alternate route, we had quite a bit of public comment at our special meeting, and the majority of it was surrounding people whose personal homes and neighborhoods would be affected. And we actually garnered some good information from people who could possibly be affected should the alternate route go through. And there was a lot of discussion about how we address the different neighborhoods, because in the first letter that the town council wrote, they identified the number of personal landowners affected, but they didn't identify the people by neighborhoods. So this letter, we identified people by neighborhoods, and some asked to be included because their neighborhood was left off of our list. So there was quite a bit of public comment at that meeting. If you have a chance and you got nothing else to do, you can watch it on Merrimack TV. So I think that's it. And then I'll let you address this letter, Tim, since you're the chair. Did I miss anything, do you think?
No, well, the only thing is there is an open house here in Merrimack,
Oh, yes.
September the 17th.
Yes, and I keep saying at the wrong facility. It's at the American Legion,
Just
Thursday. Is it 7 p.m.? I can't remember, 6 p.m.
8 p.m.
6 to 8 p.m. And we were asked, a member of the public asked if the town council was planning on attending that open house. And we're like, we've all been to the shows before, so we really don't, the craft fairs, as Tom Mahan likes to call them. And then they also asked if we were going to go to the Ringe scoping meeting and speak, and we said, it's really, this is all one scoping process, and we've already spoken formally and submitted our comments in writing, so we didn't, especially with Milford and such a small venue, we would have taken up space for other people who maybe didn't have an opportunity to speak in Nashua. I certainly could encourage people to go and show support for people that are speaking and are in opposition, but I don't think it's necessary that you have to. This appears to be a little bit larger venue like Nashua was than Milford, so it possibly could hold more people, but the town council is not planning to address FERC again. We've already submitted our comments verbally and in writing.
I had no plans of going. western side of New Hampshire speak.
Well, and they've got a compressor station to deal with, so that's a really big deal for them.
So you all saw that the Conservation Commission, the letter from all the commissions got sent out and got registered from 35 commissions, so that got done. So let's talk about Kinder Morgan's letter to us, or to me. So Kinder Morgan sent us a letter. They would like to come speak with us about wetland mitigation potential projects within the town. And we're looking for an opportunity to come talk to us and explore some ideas. And I replied, which I copied all of you on. In fact, I replied to everyone that was listed, so I included Eileen and Nancy. I'm assuming they've shared that with the council, or you have, so.
I did.
And said that, we'll address it tonight at our meeting, so. I also told them that, we do have regularly scheduled meetings, and there are agenda submittal deadlines, and they're welcome to submit an agenda item. I hold that open to everybody, so. What's your thoughts on that?
You haven't gotten a response yet, no.
Now, I did get a response from Alan, who said thank you, and he looks forward to hearing the results of today's meeting.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
He emailed me back.
Okay. Wow. You're important. I have a question, and I don't know, since you've got all this knowledge tucked away in here, I didn't know if you would be able to answer my question, or if we've got to do some more digging, because I threw it out. The town council didn't have any time. This was CC'd to the town manager and the chair of the town council, so I considered it a document that addresses to the town council as well. So I advised the town council about your correspondence and that we'd be talking about it tonight. The town council, it wasn't even on Nancy's radar to talk about these last 2 weeks, so we haven't formally discussed it. I asked if are there wetlands or other mitigations on town-owned property that the Conservation Commission either doesn't own or doesn't oversee, is my one question. So would the town as an entity be involved in mitigation discussions, which was my first question, and I'm going to get an answer to that. I don't know who has the answer. And if the answer is yes, then I said, how do we coordinate the efforts of mitigation between the Conservation Commission and the town council, because I think it's important. Even if the answer is no, I still think the town council needs to be aware of and involved in this discussion, however that may be. But I threw it out there, and there's a lot of information that was thrown out there that night, so I will follow up at some point with the town manager. I don't know if that's the case, and I didn't know if you knew.
I guess there could be potential projects on town-owned property, or these projects can introduce new property to the town. So in the past, we've done wetland mitigation for the new mall, the outlet mall. That resulted in us gaining a parcel in Greater Woods.
Okay.
So we looked at the time, the commission, and I think I was the council rep at the time. The commission offered to Simon Properties, Simon, right? They own it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The various potential projects, and one of them was purchasing a piece of land and immediately donating it to the Conservation Commission. And that's the option they chose. They ended up spending more money than they were required to, but not an extremely large amount more than they needed to. So basically, there's a formula that says if you impact so much wetlands, you plug it into the formula, and that's the size project you need to, it plugs in and it says you need to do wetland mitigation somewhere else of a project of this size. Or it can plug into a formula and create a dollar number that you would have to provide to the
Okay.
fund.
So if we, and I know we had talked about having projects ready just in case. So if we were going to discuss projects, then the two bodies really should
Yes.
be working together on that, right? And how would we do that?
We would have to would have to come together in a public session and do that.
Okay,
Unless, of course, they involved a land purchase where we would want to have the opportunity to negotiate that and not. So
Okay.
you have to look at the non-public rule there as
Okay.
well.
so in order to start the dialogue going with the town council, would you like me to go back to Nancy Harrington and talk to her about it, or do you think that would be better for you to do that? Whatever you think I should do, or how it should be done, I'm fine with.
Do you have any comments, any insight, any thoughts on that question? Any of you?
Well, well, I think it's good, like you said, to have our lists and corresponding, but I don't think we should give anything to them at this point, you know, because they haven't even filed yet. You know, they're doing all this.
Right, and to me, that's a whole nother discussion that we can have after this. I'm just talking about creating
Just
the
identifying the
list,
list.
yeah, and identifying it. Because that's a whole nother can of worms we're going to open about how we should respond to them.
So it's likely that most of the list will get generated in a public session, so it's not like it's going to be hidden, okay?
Mhm.
So let's not have any thoughts that it's going to be, they're not going to know.
Right,
They'll only not know if they're not watching.
Right.
So
I'm sure they are.
I think each body should be thinking about what they think is appropriate now. I have a feeling that the council is not that schooled in this area and would be wondering, what do we want to suggest, you know? So,
that's why I think meeting with this body to have a discussion would be very valuable.
we should, either that or a representative of this body.
Yes. Do you want me to reach out to Nancy and Eileen and talk about this and ask them how they'd like to proceed and then get back to you all?
If they'd like to set an agenda item and have us come talk,
Okay,
toss it around,
okay.
it's probably appropriate. I have some scheduled conflicts next month. if you want
Okay.
me to participate, so.
Yeah, we need you to participate. Yeah, Tim, we kind of need you there.
Be aware of those.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, and if Nancy and Eileen have a different idea on how to approach this, you know, by all means, I'll share that with you. But I wanted to at least get the conversation going of the two of us talking and having a meeting potentially, and start identifying some of these things. Okay,
Because I can try and do a little research on other projects that have been done, and for examples, so they can have an idea of things. I mean, so the Red Maple Trail upgrade that we did was mitigation for wetland impact. For the Manchester Street Bridge, that's another one.
okay.
So we've not only purchased property, but we've actually done projects. So,
And my guess is Tom Mahon's aware of a lot of this stuff too. Yeah, yeah. But I still think it would be good for everybody to be together and hear. So, okay.
Well, some things we probably wouldn't want to say if it was public, right? Like, for example, our wish list.
correct, so there are some potential properties that would fall under this, depending on the size of the impact. But either way, they could help offset some of our own expenses that I don't really want to address in public because we're still.
No, you could just say what you just said.
Yeah, right.
Potential properties,
'Cause
possible purchase.
I don't want to lose our negotiation.
Right, right. But I mean, that would be a bullet item on things that we'd ask for. Okay. All right, thank you. I wanted clarification on that.
And that's my hesitancy with Kinder Morgan is I do not want to sit here and say, well, we'd like you to go after a tax map parcel, blah, 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 blah. We think that one's appropriate. Because they'll go off and negotiate it for us and hand it to us and say, look what we did for you.
Right,
Yeah, right.
right.
Okay? And did we get the deed the way we want it and all those other things.
Right, and I don't know how the commission wants to respond to this either, how we want to, like you said, anybody's entitled to come have an agenda item. We've offered it up to town council too. I really personally, I think they're interested in meetings that while somebody might be taking minutes, they're not videotaped or recorded, and I think that's what they're interested in. And the town council made it clear they're not interested in having a meeting like that. So I'm not sure what the will of this commission is, whether they'd be interested in that either. But I also know that some other people have expressed concern. It's like that you're putting the cart before the horse. They don't know if, we don't know yet if the pipeline's going to be approved or go through. Why would you be talking about this? And my opinion is the same thing with Tim, is you got to have things ready. So if in fact it does, and the fact that we would be putting a list together doesn't mean that we've backed down, doesn't mean that we're in support of the pipeline. And people were concerned that Kinder Morgan might take that information, here's the list, the mitigation wish list of the Conservation Commission of Merrimack. Look, they want to work with us. And people thought that might be a leverage point for them, and I personally just don't see it with all the formal written comment that we've been pretty clear what our position is on this pipeline, and I think creating a mitigation list doesn't jeopardize our position against regarding that. But that's my opinion.
And I agree. I think it's good to be prepared. Some of these projects, well, they all do. They all take time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have an idea of what they're going to be, if you have to dream them up at the end, the odds of that money going into the ARM fund are considerably higher. So,
And we want to see a benefit directly to the town during mitigation.
well, we stated that in our scoping comments to FERC. I mean, that was one of our line items in that letter in August, was we want the money to stay local. So when this letter came in, it's like, well, maybe they heard that part.
Well, that's what I reminded people. It's like this letter really isn't, in my opinion, totally out of the blue, because we did specifically address mitigation in our scoping comments. So that,
We kind of asked for this letter.
yeah.
And they didn't get anywhere with the town council as far as private meetings, but they have, as we know, with other towns, so maybe they're trying to go a different route. And I'm sure, that was good what you said to them. You could come and get on our agenda, and I'm sure there's no chance that they're going to do that, but...
Yeah, so how do you want to proceed? You want to leave that open, say if you want to talk about it, you need to come to one of our meetings?
Public meetings, yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to relay that. Does that agree with what you want to do? Okay.
Sure.
And then I'll approach the town council and town manager and get back to you guys about logistics for a meeting.
Okay. So in the meantime, no matter what, whether we got this letter or not, we all know that we need to be thinking about projects. Since we don't know the size of the impact and what kind of dollar figure that would mean, we should be thinking about projects from small to large. I have a small list in the back of my head, but I haven't formally written it yet, so, but time to start thinking about that, okay? All right? Okay, so I have not crafted yet another set of scoping comments, mainly because we got an extension. So I've taken advantage of that extension to spend more time digging through those resource reports. And I'll tell you, there's an awful lot of redundancy in those resource reports, and same words just said over and over and over again. It should have just said ditto.
Right. Next to the TBD, right?
Yeah, next to all the TBDs, yeah. So, but in case you didn't catch it, metering stations are assumed to have an impact of 0.92 acres. In case you didn't hear that. They have done aerial photography all along, but I'm concerned that the aerial photography may have been done at the wrong time of year to identify all the wetlands and vernal pools, because they tried to identify some of those items, and I think they did a rather poor job at doing that. So I didn't see much of any comments about fertilizer use of de-icing compounds, which are very strong in our case, so I will bring that up, especially in Resource Report 1. They do talk about erosion control matting and stuff like that, which if anyone saw the New Hampshire Fish and Game comments, some of the matting that they propose to use is not ideal for snakes and other critters. So think it's ideal, I think we should reiterate that fact, and I plan on doing that in the comments. These are some of my scribble notes as I was going through, but I actually have started rewriting the letter, so, which my intent is to have the next letter on our agenda, so since we have the time
Okay.
for our next meeting.
Could we ask them, I mean, so many people have asked them, could we ask them to use an updated map, a current map?
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
One maybe that has the outlet malls on it?
Right.
Yeah, all their topo maps don't show the outlet mall at all.
And the note that I sent to you about our reports and the discussion regarding disturbed land promoting invasive species, that was the one thing that I don't believe we've addressed in writing yet. So I thought that was something that we should include this time around, because, I mean, look at how much money and what a havoc invasive species has on things. So if, yeah, we,
Addressed in one of their resource reports.
is it?
They've acknowledged that the disturbing of lands will increases the potential, and then they say we'll follow the best management practices that'll be part of the EAC, environmental, there's some that they'll create for each state. So they're creating these working documents for each state, which are supposed to be state-specific to address the different agencies in the different states and what they need to do. But when you go to research, do they have these things yet? And they don't. All they've done is identify that in New Hampshire they have to deal with New Hampshire DES and local conservation commissions, it says as well. So,
TBD.
yeah, so more data that needs to be filed. So, which then I'm going to highlight the fact that it's missing. So, they do talk about seeding and fertilizers and mulching within their project space. But again, it tells you that you have to look at the project-specific ECP for each state to know what they're going to do. Okay. And it's not quite there yet. So they talk about water testing wells within 200 feet of the construction workspace, but they need to have permission to do that, or else they won't be doing the testing before or after, and therefore you won't know. They bring up hay and straw bales all over the place, so we will have to correct them that in Merrimack we don't use hay. Silt fencing comes up in lots of places. They talk about once every 3 years to maintain the herbaceous to low shrub cover that will happen within their right-of-way. And they will annually maintain at least the 10-foot corridor centered over the project pipeline in uplands and in wetlands. But in the wetlands, they'll only maintain the 10-foot corridor over the...
And what does maintain mean?
So they state that they will not use herbicides or pesticides, okay, in this right-of-way or above ground, or on the above-ground facilities. That's what they state. So...
But didn't we ask them that at the meeting they had in Merrimack, and they didn't answer us?
It's here in writing.
Really?
So in the version of the resource report under erosion control procedures, it comes up actually in a number of different places. So they speak about the cathode and AC mitigation in Merrimack. They show some places where they might do it, but there's not a whole lot of data as to how they're really going to put that in and do it. So there's no contractor yards in Merrimack as of this point. There are a number of access roads shown for in Merrimack, and one of them happens to go right through Gilmore Hill Memorial Forest, which they don't acknowledge as a conservation property, even though we've told them it's a conservation property. And the deed does not allow an access road. And oh, by the way, that road now is underwater a good part of the year, where 5 years ago it wasn't, because the whole wetland situation has changed on that property. So they, like I said, they don't acknowledge Gilmore Hill as a conservation property, even though we've told them, so we'll tell them again. They do address bentonite being used in the horizontal drilling to the point where they say that they're going to they have to extract those liquids out of the hole after they're done doing their drilling, and they're going to dump them into a pit that they're going to dig in the ground. And then from there, they'll siphon it out and take care of it. But while they're in the process of digging,
Yeah, it's
they're
going
putting
to
fluid in and they're extracting fluid
get
out.
get
It's-
half of it back
it's
out.
going into a pit. So some of it, and so I'm going to, dutifully say, well, that's a nice idea, but that pit has got to be lined because we don't. Bentonite is not a compound that's normally found in this part of the country.
Right.
Bentonite is you can look it up online, but it's it's basically a nice slippery clay type material, which, reading from Jeff Littleton, also can get into a wetland and can impact the ability of little critters to swim and do all kinds of stuff because it just globs right on there. So we'll be speaking to that a little bit more. They don't talk about our no disturb buffer here in Merrimack, but they say they'll follow local ordinances, so we'll let them know about that. They do plan on replanting. They say they'll use local native seeds. I want to reiterate that that's a requirement. We don't want to introduce new plant species that only become invasive to the ones that are around there. So, what else? They do not cover any of the historic places we have in Horse Hill that will be impacted by the proposed route, including Spalding Foundation, Old Kings Highway, Gothier Road, Class 6 road that has some historical aspects to it as well. They say they'll follow local permits for blasting, but of course I'll remind them that we have our own ordinance that's been in effect for quite a while. In certain places, they list public lands, but they do not list Gilmore Hill, and they minimize their impacts on Horse Hill Nature Preserve. They state that because it's going to be along the existing right-of-way, that the impacts will be minimal. I forget the exact terminology they use, but so.
Co-location.
Yeah. So that's just kind of an outline of some of the stuff that I've come across and made notes and started writing on.
Thank you, Tim.
So you can see what's in there. So a lot of stuff, but again, a lot of redundancy. And the one report that really is interesting to read is Report 8, as well as number 1. But 8 on my Mac is so hard to get through because it's a monster of a document. I think my machine just doesn't handle it very well. So that one's tedious. So that's kind of an idea of what I've come across. Never mind some of the things that we've already discussed, the more general comments.
You're just like shuts down.
Yeah, right.
My
My brain
intent was
shuts
to-
down.
The letter's going to have some general comments about things here in town, and then I'm going to just do a whole section on Horse Hill and Gilmore Hill Memorial Forest. One, to make sure that I address both properties, but two, to highlight the fact that they are two distinct properties.
Good. Good.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
all right, so that's all that I have on Ned for today. You all set with Ned? Put Ned to bed?
Putting that to bed.
Yeah. Send Ned away.
Okay. So that takes us to new business. The only item under new business is an update on land acquisitions, and I've got nothing to update you on, but I'm going to leave this on here since we're working on it. So let people know that we're working on it. So that takes us straight to, unless you've got any questions before I move on. Okay. So it takes us to other business. The first item is an update on the study that is being done for us by Jeff Littleton. Jeff is going to join us at our next meeting
Great.
and present the final. So, in speaking with Jeff, I've asked him, and he thought it was appropriate to take any sensitive information or data that he's collected and pull it out of the final report, and we'll deal with that as a separate mechanism so we do not reveal things. He has no intentions of holding it or hiding that information from us, but we need to find the appropriate way to transmit it to us.
Who's deciding what's sensitive and
So I have spoken with Jeff. Jeff is aware from what he knows from working with other communities around this, as well as some of the items have to be reported to the New Hampshire Heritage Bureau. Those kinds of items he's not going to put in the main document. He'll separate them out.
okay? And has he already reported them?
We paid him to do that. The consultants who have found that information have started doing all that reporting.
Okay.
The resource reports speak to drawing on the New Hampshire Natural Heritage Bureau for knowing where kind of species are found and where they are, but they pulled all their data early this year, so nothing new was going to be in the pull for their resource reports. I don't know when they're going to go pull again, but we should actually tell them they're going to have to pull again. I'm going to make that note. Because there will be updates, and I know other communities are doing updates as well, trying to get everything registered in, so.
Have you,
I've spoken to Joanna a little bit.
have you? Okay.
We've exchanged some emails about how we deal with sensitive information, so.
So good, because we had like something kind of dropped on us like, well, it still might be out there even though you think it's not out there, so.
Yeah, I don't believe the advice I was given by Eric Tomasi from FERC was completely accurate.
Surprise.
Shocker. Yeah, I know, right?
Okay, good. I'm glad you guys have spoken. Thank you.
Well, emailed, yep.
Okay.
So we'll find an appropriate way to do that, so.
Do we expect?
One that protects the things that we feel could be at risk if it was out there, so.
It's not, it's to protect the species. It's nothing else. There's no sinisterness here. Gets along with the same thing that you put in, the town council put in the survey request. If they found anything, we wanted to make sure that it was appropriately handled. Because we don't want to make things public.
Right.
So, yeah, same idea. So,
I have two questions about this.
Yep.
How much of the meeting do you think this is going to be? Our conversation with Jeff, is it going to be an hour?
I would suspect, yeah.
Okay. You think it's going to be a substantial part of the meeting? And do we have the opportunity or the want to have a private session so that we can discuss the sensitive?
That's a good question. Hadn't
I
thought
would like that.
I mean, I think that's super important, especially if they're not going to be in the document that we're receiving.
I gotta see how we can or if we can do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not sure either. Okay. Yeah, let me look into it. Just because of the nature of our body. So.
Right. So if we had our attorney present, we could have a non-public, but getting legal advice, but yeah,
Deal with it.
yeah.
Right.
Good point.
And that would be my preference,
Yeah.
if it matters.
Oh, it always matters.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I just facilitate this group, okay?
Well,
But you do it according to the letter of the law, which we all appreciate.
yes, definitely.
Certainly try, so. All right, so that's pretty much the update. Nothing more has gone on with Jeff. He's busy trying to put it all together, so.
Great.
So that takes us next to the Watson Park kiosk. So Paul McCally's had discussions with the artist who's going to do the work. They've been working out the liability, insurance, and all those things. I believe the artist still wants to move forward. There was some concern that it was getting messy because it's not a business for him. It's a hobby of his that he does this kind of work. A piece of his work many of us have probably seen. If you've ever looked at the silo building at the Homestead Restaurant, he's the one who actually put that paint up on the building. So he didn't do the design. He was handed the design, but he rendered it on silo. He's also done it up in Manchester as well, so in case you're curious. So I believe we're moving forward with that. I've talked to George May, who helped find the artist, who helped refine the picture that's going up and make it appropriate for the kiosk and stuff like that. So So hopefully soon we'll have progress there, so. He needed access to electricity as well, because he wanted to sand down the kiosk and prepare the surface so that it would accept the paint correctly.
Good, because we paid for the electricity to get down there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Really?
that's right.
So,
Really?
Did we?
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So,
$8,000.
How much?
yeah, we ended up not paying for all of it, because it turned out to be a lot more than it was supposed to be. But, all right, so that's what I have on the kiosk. So since last meeting, we met with Chris Wells from PLC. I have had a discussion with him as well. I've shared with him some of our current easement or conservation language we put in our deeds. He's said that he would provide some feedback on that language, so that way going forward we can get their opinion on what we put in. I also discussed with him, what would be an appropriate first project if we wanted to do something to test the waters and get through things, and we've had some ideas on that. So I have some questions I want to pose to town council, our town attorney. So I'm going to pose them to Eileen and ask Eileen to forward them off to the attorney to get opinions on it. So I'd like to get a feel, and he thinks it's appropriate, because in the towns he's worked with, to get a feel for what the governing body feels about a third-party easement on town property. But let's not just say, hey, what do you think about doing that? Let's do that with the town's attorney's input, so that way, and let's ask for that input before we actually present it to town council. Try to do all our homework, present it all out, lay it all out, and that way they can provide some important and educated response. Because if we do anything, it's going to take time, it's going to take money, it's his time, it's their time, it's our money, so let's make sure that we're all on board with the concept.
No, I think having a test run is a great idea.
So that's what we're looking at, so. The parking lot, the parking lot, the wetlands have all been delineated within the area that we asked to be done. On Saturday, most of us, members of the commission, as well as representatives from each of our 3 subcommittees were there. Spoke to, and Tracy walked us around and educated us on wetland delineation and how it's done, how soils is most important, plants are next, and the presence or hydraulic conditions are third. Everyone thinks a wetland has to have water. Well, guess what? It doesn't always have to have water. Not all the time. So hopefully we've all learned a little bit. I think we've got some good data out of that. We learned some questions we should ask when projects come up. Matt remembers his question.
Do you?
I was really hoping the Pennachuck had organization.
Yeah.
Hit him.
That's right.
So, but we learned a lot about the process and what we can and can't do. Tracy, I thought, was very informative. So, and I think the depth was at the right level. She could have
Sad
gone.
I missed it.
She could have gone a lot deeper, but she used some pretty big words as it was.
Well, I think it's so important because so much of the work that this commission does, is surrounding wetlands, and people just, and if you poo-poo enough of development going through wetlands, then you're not going to have any wetlands anymore. So having somebody keeping an eye on it. But I remember years back, conversations while I was watching some of these meetings, or somebody, people were arguing over what constituted a wetland because they had certain uses they wanted for certain pieces of property. So I think this is great that we formally had this report done on this property, and that said, I'm sorry I missed it, but that you all went for the training.
So I shared the report with the members of the subcommittee so they could see it. Some of them I'm going to send it out to all of them, as well as some of the training material I'll share with everyone that was there at the meeting. And I forwarded to you already. You've gotten it all. So, yeah, the report and the educational material that went with the training as well. Some of the forms. And there's a large PDF from the U.S. Corps of Army Engineers as well, which I think is a tremendous document. I don't know if you've thumbed through it or not, but it's great. It's got good color pictures and everything in it. So, but I've shared the information with Kyle. Kyle said that he's going to look at it. He's going to get out there, and Tracy used a handheld GPS unit, so she acknowledges that some of her markings could be off with the margin of error of her unit. So if there's any concern about spots, that we need to get them surveyed or bring a better unit out. But I think the overall consensus is that the wetlands aren't nearly as close as we thought they were, at least what was communicated to us many years ago when we first put the parking lot in, which is, it's a good 10 years now, which will allow us to comfortably put in an expanded parking lot and not feel like we're right up against the buffer, I think. I think we've got a good 50 feet we can play with. So that's pretty good. But either way, I want to stay out of the 20-foot no disturb buffer as well. So Kyle said he's going to work up some ideas. I encourage Newt to talk to him about some of their ideas as well. That way we can do something on our own property. So all goodness there.
So is the intent to fund the parking lot growth from the commission budget?
I think at this point, until we know what that number really is. Yeah. Yes? Does everyone agree with that concept right now?
Where would there be any funds available anywhere else?
Well, I mean, we could look for matching grants and stuff like that. Then there may be some, because it is an outlet to recreation trails and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's a possibility. But I think we'd end up leveraging our own money no matter what we did.
Do we have access to town staff that could help with grant writing? Are they, so now that we've got people back in the department?
I don't know.
Okay. Or is that something that you would, I just hate to see you have to do?
It's not something I have time to do.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And, that it takes time.
So I think we could ask the Association of Conservation Commissions if they have some ideas if this type
Okay.
of project lends itself to one grant over another. I think we might be missing the window with some of the current money that's available today.
Okay.
I know the Moose Lake grant has a deadline, and some of the others have a deadline.
Yeah.
But that also, this is not a project that has to happen tomorrow.
No.
Mm.
Right. So I think if we wanted to take advantage of a grant opportunity, if we knew what opportunity we wanted to go, we could time it correctly, I suspect. So I don't know if someone has some free time to go looking around or poking around about grants. I know grant opportunities would be part of the training that's coming up in November at the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions. Plus they have another one going on. They've had some workshops going on throughout the year as well. If someone feels inclined to become more knowledgeable on grants, let us know. So, but either way, I think we have to do something at some point on that. The parking lot is not big enough. So, Tracy commented to me that she was surprised how many people in the middle of the week actually go out and use that property.
Yeah.
So,
Middle of the week, middle of the weekend, middle of the night,
oh yeah.
parking lot's always full.
I do. I drive by at night when it's dark and there's people out there. So, yeah. Well, put on a headlamp and go to town. They don't seem to be.
Now, we're
hurting.
going to be forced to do that now for a while until
get
it,
dark early.
we get our first foot of snow again. I know.
Let's have the lead.
I'm just a ray of sunshine and joy, aren't I?
That's the prediction. The first flake is going to be with a foot coming in.
Oh, it was Thanksgiving, right, last year?
Aye,
Yeah.
aye.
Yes, indeed.
You sure didn't get that bone thing from kicking puppies?
I know. I'm sorry, I'm cranky tonight.
All right. So, anything else on the parking lot? All right, so, beaver policy, I'm not sure where Gage is at with that, so we'll let that stand. Just so you're aware, reminder, November the 7th is Saturday, is the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commission's annual conference. At our next meeting, I'd like to get an idea of who's thinking of going, and then so we can take a vote to approve the use of educational dollars for that. So I'm thinking you've all seen references to it. I can find that information. Jody, have you seen that?
Yes.
All right.
I'll poke around though if I can't find it all from one of you guys.
Yeah, let us know.
Is that going to be in your announcements? Do we have a pamphlet about it? Did we receive a pamphlet about it?
I think we all got an electronic one if you're on their mailing list. Are you on there? Okay. Well, yeah, so if you're
I mean, I know of it, I know it exists, but I haven't seen anything in particular to this one.
I am. I just don't recall seeing it.
It
It did go? Okay.
I can find it.
Yeah, we got a couple of
Can you
emails
forward the
on it.
email to me, Cindy?
And I can tell you how you can get registered to their mail list, because they do
Okay.
talk about workshops and stuff like that
Okay.
that come up as well, if you're curious.
Thank you.
But yeah, why don't you send the pamphlet out to everybody? Okay.
Can I ask a question before we move on to the next agenda item? And the minutes were a refresher for me. We talked about, under other business, Greater Woods, we talked about getting a permit for a one-time burn. And it was suggested that the subcommittee take up the issue to determine if they'd be interested in overseeing such an activity, and I just wondered if guys had a chance to talk about that yet.
Our meeting's tomorrow night.
Okay,
We didn't have an August meeting because of the
Okay.
trail work. We did
okay,
our
Yep.
trail work as the meeting.
all right,
Tomorrow night, we're going to take that up.
all right. I was just thinking it was timely to possibly get rid of some of the nighttime activities that are going on out there. Because the subcommittee meets once a month, is that right?
Once a month.
Yeah, okay,
And sometimes if we don't have anything, we'll take a month off
okay,
or do a meeting in the woods.
okay,
But tomorrow night, we do have a meeting,
all right,
a full meeting.
okay. Because then I imagine it would take time to coordinate between the fire department and the Conservation Commission too, so, okay, thanks.
All right, last item that's not on the list, but just the Bean Road Bridge, as we may all be aware, is now
Yeah.
closed. I have not had any more conversations. Have you spoke to Kyle?
I spoke to him that one time. I think I told you about that, and I have not heard from him, so I'm assuming it hasn't progressed to that stage yet.
Okay. Yeah, I know it's very important for him now, especially since the bridge is now closed, to keep moving this thing forward, so. At our last non-public meeting, we agreed to have Mike be our interface to Kyle.
Gotcha,
Okay?
never
Sorry,
mind, yep.
that's right. Yeah, I could see that.
I was like, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
Got it,
Yeah, the meeting you missed.
I don't need to
yeah.
know, yep.
Yeah, so. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it was just closed sooner than later because of the report that we got back. But I think the original timeline is still a go, as far as I know.
Well, we'll wait to hear from some more, so. So that's all I have for other business. Anyone have anything else they want to bring up? Okay, so that takes us to the minutes of August 17th. Everyone get a chance, or most of you get a chance to review the minutes? So I'll move the minutes with corrections.
Second?
Seconded by Matt. Honestly, I didn't read them as diligently as I normally do. But I also didn't feel the need as I got through it because she's done such a great job.
Mhm.
So the only correction that I've noted is on page 2, and on line 23. The word
Yeah,
Black Brook.
Brooke.
I actually researched it just to see if Brook was spelled with an E, and I found no reference to Black Brook in Goffstown with an E, so I think the E has to come off of Brook. In another place, it's worked without any as well, so.
Oh, okay.
That's all that I have, and I did go through the entire set, so.
I have,
Anything else?
I didn't catch that one, but I did catch, no, she does a great job with the minutes.
Yeah.
Page 9 of 11, line 8, less illegal activity, the Y is missing.
Oh, yeah. Activate? I didn't realize that was a word.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And line 24, being tracked, the C was left out of tracked. And I think that's all. Yep, that's all for me.
On that same page 9, 31, did Gage say duck blinds, or did he say duck boxes?
Blinds.
Which line,
Did say
Cindy?
blinds.
Did say blinds.
Oh, okay. Thought I was saying for duck boxes. Anything else? On page 4, row 43, I just thought it'd be good to add a comma after if just a straight town ownership, comma, that can be undone for almost any purpose at some point in the future. 'Cause if you kind of read it without it, it just is difficult. That was all I had.
Did you catch all yours?
I just had that Brook thing that you had, that's it.
All right then, so all those in favor as amended, signify by saying aye.
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 Passes 500. So that's the minutes. The public has left the building. So commissioner comments. Matt, anything?
Spent a lot of time out this weekend in the properties. The shooting area in Greater Woods has a lot of new targets added. However, a lot of them weren't shot, which to me made me think that maybe the police came upon them, setting up targets, but I didn't get an activity sheet or hear from Lieutenant Tarleton. I did not get to reach out. My plan was to reach out to him today to have more to report on that, but I will do that and let you know if something came of it. But there was a lot of new stuff out there. When I was out there a couple weeks ago, we rounded up a lot of things, and there were trash bags and things there, and I had a couple, so we packaged them up and put them on the side, and they're still there, waiting to be removed. But there was a lot of new stuff out there. And also, after we were doing the wetland delineation, I spent some time out in Horse Hill, and there was, I know oftentimes the Bowman, the Botanic Bowman Club, they do their shoots out there. Looking in the kiosk while we were in the parking lot, there wasn't indication of a shoot. However, there were a ton of markings, flaggings, and paper plates stapled to trees. It's almost trash out there. It's almost like after they do a shoot, they just don't pick up after, where they've marked. And it's not the first time that even when I was on the subcommittee, I brought it to their attention. Like, if you're going to go out there and shoot, fine. You've notified us. We're supposed to post it in the kiosk, and then you clean up when you're done. But they're just not doing that.
I think they had a scheduled shoot for this weekend.
Was the targets already hit and stuff when you saw them?
They pretty much leave their targets out there this time of year because they're preparing for, they're getting ready. So they're, the bear is out there, and their targets are out there. But it was late Saturday afternoon. There was nobody around, and there were just, there's ribbons in the middle of the trail, and I don't know if it's people pulling them down, and then just plates hanging up everywhere. And I mean, they weren't just put up because you can tell when a paper plate's been rained on. It's kind of drooping,
Right.
and it was definitely drooping. So, at some point, it becomes trash.
I'll talk to Newt. See where he's at.
I also plan on talking to the school through, I don't know, whatever channel I can use, but at Greater Woods, the cross-country trails are marked, and I think we can do a better job now that we're, really, our trails out there are kind of becoming better. I think we can do a better job of marking the trails. Because though they're marking them maybe weekly for I think there's a better way of doing it. So I'm gonna reach out to them.
Matt Chevenel, he's the one that you'd want to
Yeah.
point of contact.
My first stop.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Because I think
And if he wants you to talk to somebody, Adam at the middle school or something, he'll take care of that for you, so.
Okay. Yeah, or even the cross country coach or something. They'll probably have some good input. But I think we have the infrastructure now where if they want a post to hang a sign on, I think we can do that. I mean, even though that's not, it's not a hiking trail or typical commission stuff, I think we have the infrastructure now where we can add stuff like that and make it easier for them to get around the woods.
I think they'd be open to that.
Great. I'll reach out to Matt.
Good.
That's all for me.
Just an interesting Alaskan fact. I saw on the online about how we haven't had any cases in New Hampshire of like triple E or this year, and so it reminded me what I learned in Alaska was that they don't have any of those type of diseases, and you don't have to worry about ticks.
Because it's too
Too
cold.
cold.
Yeah, I
Cindy.
know. I know, but it was nice to be out walking in, the woods and not have to worry about if I got bit by a mosquito or, worry about the ticks. But also that their mosquitoes do all of the pollinating there.
Oh.
Yeah. I
That's
thought that was
interesting.
very interesting because people always say, whoa.
They don't have bees?
Mosquitoes don't do any purpose. Well, they do. They do all the pollinating in Alaska.
They actually go in the flowers?
Mm-hmm. And do all the pollinating. I didn't see any bees when I was there. I did in Canada, but I didn't see any there.
Really?
But yeah, the mosquitoes do all the pollinating. Look at her face, so. And as far as well,
Maybe they're not bloodsuckers.
yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah, I know. And they have a very pretty. Well, when they have their fires, something called fireweed.
I've
sprouts
seen
up.
that before.
Seen that? Yeah. I mean, it's very pretty.
Canada.
And so some people that we had met were like, oh, yeah, we're thinking about taking that back, Yeah, I'm at ease with them. And I was like, well, I really read the story of people saying, oh, yeah, we used to buy this and then put it in our backyard for Oriental, and now it's an invasive
Like burning
species.
bushes turn red, too.
Exactly, yeah. So hopefully I convinced them not to do it, but it was, it's just things I've learned on the commission, which is good. I'm passing along to other people. So.
Crash tackling people on the last
Yeah. Give me that plant. No, yeah. No. That's all I had.
Jody, anything? Okay. Mike?
I'm just going to throw this out there, but I was wondering, like, as a committee, maybe sometime in the future, we could come up with a policy about shooting of firearms on conservation property outside of hunting. Would that be possible to do?
Sure. So, interesting comment, because I've had an email exchange recently with Chief Doyle about target shooting and hunting on our properties. He wanted to have some clarification as to if we had rules around that. So
Maybe we could come up with some.
So technically, target shooting can only be done with landowner permission. Per RSA, I'd have the number written down somewhere, okay? And we've never granted permission to anyone to do target shooting. Okay, I don't think the town has ever granted permission to anyone to do target shooting. Or if they did, it's back when we had 3 selectmen, it was 1970. So,
And this is firearms.
firearms.
Okay, not bows and arrows.
Bows and arrows are also required to have landowner permission per the RSA. Yep, landowner permission.
Every time.
You're doing target, yeah.
You can't pick and choose the time, Matt.
Open a can of worms on this one.
Yeah.
So help me.
The bowmen are out there whenever they want.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's our yeah, it is target shooting.
Sure is. Those bears that they got out in
But
the
don't
woods,
they? But
those are
don't they
target-
have some kind of a formal arrangement?
We had an arrangement with them. It was written down, it was signed and agreed to. I'm not sure if the arrangement had a timeline on it.
Okay,
You're
because
right.
to me that would be an
that-
exception.
So I guess that is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that arrangement was put in place so we could utilize their parking lot. I think that was the trade.
You know, we could possibly dig that up too to talk about the communication. My guess is just people get comfortable and just don't think they have to do things anymore because I really think if they're having something like that, an event like that, it should be posted on the kiosk. I mean, for
Yes.
so
And we were there, and we looked at the kiosk.
you know, it's just maybe a general review at an upcoming meeting. Not that we don't have stuff to do, but of the agreement. I like your idea.
Yeah, maybe it needs to be clarified further, you know? Maybe we could come up with something.
So, as part of this whole target shooting thing, I did verify that what we list on our website for our major properties is completely accurate. So if you want to know if target shooting is allowed or not, if it's under the not permitted uses on our website, it's accurate. Now, it may not be permitted because of an ordinance, which is the case for Horse Hill. Horse Hill has an ordinance. Chapter 128 of the Town Code says no target shooting. And that was done deliberately because we had a problem with target shooting way back when. That ordinance, I think it's 128 or 125. That could be expanded to include other properties if we wanted to. Gilmore Hill, it's a violation of the deed. Wasserman Conservation Area, it's a violation of the deed. And we'd have to look at all the other properties.
So Greater Woods, we don't.
Yeah, I don't think
Wildcat
there's-
Falls.
Yeah.
Wildcat Falls, it's a violation of the ordinance, Chapter 111. Okay, same with Mitchell Woods, same with Riverside.
I didn't
That's
know all
Greater
this.
Woods.
And it wasn't addressed in the master plan, I don't think,
So,
for discharging of firearms and things, target shooting.
so target shooting and hunting are two distinct things.
Right.
And
no
in the
problem with
law
hunting.
As well. So hunting is also not permitted by deed on a bunch of our properties as well. But it is permitted on Horse Hill and Greater Woods. Actually, I should say, there's no language that says it's not permitted. It's probably the proper way to put it, okay? So, but yes, the website is accurate. I spent a lot of time on that last week after I was getting questions from Chief Doyle and I wanted to be sure. In fact, I gave him a response real quick, thinking I had it all right, and then I went back and I said, oh my God, I don't have it right. But I did verify that our website is accurate. I haven't changed the website. It's been accurate for months now, if not years, okay? So.
That's good to know.
So if anyone wants to know what is permitted and not, certainly what's not permitted is on our website. If the website is silent on a matter, then it should be assumed to be permitted. Okay. In some places under permitted uses, we actually explicitly state what they are, but that's not an all-inclusive list. But the not permitted is definitely an inclusive list. But yeah, we can have a more general discussion about permitted uses or not if you want, and avenues to.
It seems to me like it needs some clarification, and like Greater Woods, for instance, it's not, it's permitted because it's not mentioned?
Yep.
Maybe we want to change that.
Yes, or maybe we want to highlight the fact that it requires landowner permission
All right.
for RSA, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then if someone wants to apply for permission, we'll have to have a process for that.
Similar to what we've discussed before about camping. We haven't
Nope.
come up with a process for that, but
And that's come up with the subcommittee as
Yeah.
well. Okay. Anything else, Mike?
That's it. I think that was enough.
So,
Yikes.
since our last meeting, I attended a Wildcat Falls subcommittee meeting. They're planning a workday on September the 26th. If you're interested in helping out that day, that Saturday, let me know or contact Karen, the chair, directly. They're looking to post the updated map on the kiosk. They want to get the Lexian from you. So I think Andrew has been detained for work reasons and hasn't been able to follow through, but someone might be reaching out to you to get that. I think one of the members, Rebecca, has volunteered her husband to size it and drill holes in it and all that stuff.
which isn't easy.
Apparently he has some equipment or some tools, so.
Perfect.
So I'm expecting someone to reach out to you to try and arrange that, or if it's easier, I've offered to pick it up and deliver, so.
Could have brought it tonight.
Yeah, but not with the car, I have to think.
When you get the boom, boom.
Yeah.
My arms are tilted and it'll just be a sail, it'll bring me home. Be an interesting hybrid vehicle.
Yeah. Wind power.
So beyond that, they're doing lots of good things. They have a, I don't want to say this wrong, but I think it's Michael Laverne Foundation, a young man who passed away. His parents put together a group. They're actively helping out with that property. They participate in the workday that you helped them with.
Yeah, they were the majority of the workday.
They're sponsoring a 5K, their annual 5K, October 18th, I think it is. They do this every year since Michael's passed away. Michael was a 4-year, all 3-season cross-country, winter track, spring track, just like one that I just sent away to college, all 4 years of Merrimack High School. So he was a runner. So they do this 5K every year, and that's how they raise the funds to do all the different things that the foundation does. So they've got a website. They talked about the Wildcat Falls work. I had a little picture on the website. But yeah, October 18th, they're having their annual 5K.
So they're looking to put a bench up on Wildcat Falls in memory of their son. So we've given them some ideas, shared the picture of the bench that Newt did for Harold on Horse Hill. They have some folks on their group that are going to create an idea. I gave them some suggestions, to coat it with a paint or a stain that will allow it to be cleaned up in case it is vandalized or whatever. So unfortunately that happens. But yeah, so we should be hearing a little bit more about that when they want to place it. So that's the update I have from Wildcat Falls Subcommittee. But again, if you're interested in participating and helping out for an hour or two or more that Saturday morning, that'd be great. So, and I have nothing else. So.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Cindy, seconded by Mike. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That passes 5-0-0 at 8:53 p.m.